All right, guys, let's thank you for watching this video. Today we are going to finish the final part of the human lightning rod, part 3. This is the final part of this series of stories about Roy Sullivan. Okay, let's begin. The human lightning rod, part 3. Furthermore, Roy's friends and colleagues avoided him, fearing being struck by lightning themselves. Roy was struck a sixth time in 1976 under similar circumstances. The water bottle he carried at all times was put to good use when his hair was set on fire. In 1977, while fishing in a pond, Roy was struck by lightning a seventh and final time. The probability of the same person being struck by lightning 7 times in the lifespan of 80 years is 1 in 10 to the 28th. In yet another coincidence, Roy's wife was once struck by lightning as well and survived while standing near Roy. Sadly, in 1983, Roy Sullivan committed suicide in his home at the age of 71. He is in the Guinness World Records as the man who survived the most lightning strikes. Again, furthermore, Roy's friends and colleagues avoided him, fearing being struck by lightning themselves. Roy was struck a sixth time in 1976 under similar circumstances. The water bottle he carried at all times was put to good use when his hair was set on fire. In 1977, while fishing in a pond, Roy was struck by lightning a seventh and final time. The probability of the same person being struck by lightning 7 times in the lifespan of 80 years is 1 in 10 to the 28th. In yet another coincidence, Roy's wife was once struck by lightning as well and survived while standing near Roy. Sadly, in 1983, Roy Sullivan committed suicide in his home at the age of 71. He is in the Guinness World Records as the man who survived the most lightning strikes. Okay, so we have only 5 vocabulary words and other words that we want to review, but today we only have the words colleague, okay? We will explain what a colleague is. Never read the UE if it is in the back of the sentence. In the back of the word. If there is UE at the end of a word, do not read those letters. Pretend they are not there, okay? So this word is colleague. Pretend that UE is not there. Colleague, okay? Similar, okay? Circumstance, right? Circumstance. I think it's better this way. Circumstance, okay? Circumstance. Usually in the plural. Usually it's going to be circumstances, all right? Although it can be singular, but most of the time you will see this word in the 复数, in the plural, circumstances, okay? Put to good use, okay? Put to good use. Okay, we'll talk about what that means later. And Suicide. The I, you have to read the I, but very, very softly. Suicide, suicide, suicide. Okay? There's a very short, very slight I sound, E sound in the middle. Suicide. Okay? Suicide. Okay, good. All right, let's explain. Okay? All right, here we go. The human lightning rod. Okay. Furthermore, so remember how we ended the part 2, right? He thought, Roy began to worry because he thought he began to fear for his life. He began to fear. He became fearful for his life. He became fearful of losing, dying, right? His life. And then, furthermore, and Roy's friends and colleagues avoided him. Okay, what are colleagues? Colleagues are co-workers, people with whom you work. Okay, so teacher Jessica is my colleague because I work with her, right? Your father or mother, they go to work and they have colleagues, people with whom they work. All right, co-workers, people with whom you work, colleague. Okay, this here I should say people with whom he works, right? People with whom Roy works, right? So his friends and colleagues avoided him. What is avoid? Avoid means to keep away from. So they avoided him. They kept away from him. Get away from me, Roy. I don't want to get struck by lightning, right? So not only was Roy fearful for his life, his colleagues and friends kept away from him, avoided him. Why? Fearing being struck by lightning. What is fearing being struck by lightning? Fearful of being struck by lightning themselves, right? So they avoided him, fearful of being struck by lightning themselves, fearing being struck by lightning. Okay, so here instead of saying fearing, I can say fearful of. Okay, Roy was struck a 6th time in 1976 under similar circumstances. Let's look at the word similar first. Similar. Similar means almost the same. It's not the same, but almost the same. All right, so like I say, like, American short-haired cats are similar to, European short-haired cats, right? That 美国短毛猫 is similar to 欧洲短毛猫, whatever, right? They're not the same, but they are similar. Okay, so we have to say similar to. All right, but here we're just using it as an adjective, so just the word similar. Okay, so Roy was struck a 6th time in 1976 under similar circumstances, under almost the same circumstances. Okay, so what is circumstances? Circumstances means situations or conditions or events. So under similar circumstances, circumstances are situations or conditions or events under similar 情形 circumstances. Okay, situations or conditions. You know the word conditions, perhaps not the word situation, but under similar circumstances. Again, circumstance can be singular, but usually it will be in the plural, circumstances. And remember, there is no solution for prepositions. So 介系词无解哈. So you have to say under some kind of circumstances. Remember the word is under. Okay. All right. So he was struck a sixth time in 1976 under almost the same, similar situations, circumstances. Okay. All right. So under what kind of circumstances? Well, remember, he was running away from the dark cloud, right? Yes, and then the cloud caught up to him, and then lightning struck him. So under the similar circumstances described in part 2, right? Okay, all right. The water bottle he carried at all times was put to good use. All right. I'm just going to say Chinese, right? So put to good use means, okay, is this. It means that it was useful, right? He used it in a good way. All right. Put to good use. That is a pianyu. That's a phrase. Please remember it, right? To put something to good use. All right. Yes. Let's say, for example, you take garbage and you make something out of it. You put something to good use. Okay, so let's say I take, for example, I take this water bottle and I cut it in half and I make it into a beetle, right? Yes, let's say, right, like that. Okay, so I put the water bottle to good use. Okay, all right. So the water bottle he carried at all times was put to good use when his hair was set on fire. In 1977, while fishing in a pond, okay, and we'll talk about what a pond is right now, Roy was struck by lightning a seventh and final time, the last time. Okay, right. So in 1977, he was struck the seventh time, the last time, while fishing in a pond. What is a pond? Okay, a pond is this, right? But how big is it? Who knows, right? What's the difference between a pond and a lake? There is no difference. It's 个人的, it's your personal opinion, right? So for example, everybody knows that in Taiwan, in Kaohsiung, there is a famous place called Chengjing Lake. Some people may call that just a pond. We call it Chengjing Hu, but really, some people think, oh, it's not big enough to be a pond. Excuse me. It's not big enough to be a lake. It's just a pond. All right. So lake, pond, who knows? All right. So there's no real difference. There isn't a 界限 where, it's so big now. Now it's a lake. It's not a pond. Okay. So pond or lake, who knows? There is something I want to talk to you about, which is this. I gotta make it into blue. There is a saying called the pond, the capital P. Oops, sorry, what happened? With the capital P. Okay, yes, and usually England say this. If you're British, if you're English, you'll say this. Not Americans, but if you're English. And when they say the pond with a capital P, they are saying the Atlantic Ocean. 大西洋. Nope, I didn't change it to Chinese. Excuse me. 大西洋. Okay. So when British people say the pond, sometimes they mean the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. 大西洋, right? Okay. Right. And why? Because they feel that, remember, 美国 used to be their 殖民地. So they think that long ago, they think that, America is just across the pond, right? It's just a 池塘 that we just go over, and that's our 殖民地. It's just across the pond. To go across the pond, meaning the 大西洋. You might hear that or read that in a 阅读册 or something like that, just so you know. All right, continue. Roy was struck by lightning a seventh and final time, the last time. All right, here it is. The probability of the same person being struck by lightning 7 times in the lifespan of 80 years is 1 in 10 to the 28th. All right, how do you read this? How do you read this? Okay, you never learn to do this in Taiwan, okay, because you don't do math with English. But I'm going to teach you how to read these kinds of numbers. This is called read this, sorry. Here. Whoops. Here. 1 in 10 to the 28th. So this part is called 10 to the 28th. That's how you read that, okay? 10 to the 28th. Okay? 10 to the 28th. Is it raining? That's crazy. All right. In yet another coincidence, Roy's wife was once struck by lightning as well and survived while standing near Roy. So imagine that. Roy was struck 7 times by lightning. That is the probability of 1 in 10 to the 28th, which is an impossibility, right? Yes. And then his wife was also struck by lightning while standing near him. Okay? All right. Sadly, in 1983, Roy Sullivan committed suicide in his home at the age of 71. He committed suicide. What is suicide? Suicide is killing himself. All right, so when you commit suicide, you kill yourself. You never commit suicide. It is the dumbest thing in the world to do. Okay? All right, so he committed suicide at the age of 71 in his home. He is in the Guinness World Records. This is Guinness World Records as the man who survived the most lightning strikes. Okay, so I hope if you want to learn, if you need to listen again, I recommend that you listen again in order to understand what I just talked about. Let's make some sample sentences with these words, okay? All right, colleague. What is a sample sentence for colleague? Let's say Mr. Wang is my father's colleague. That means he works with my father, right? So Mr. Wang, by the way, Wang is my father's colleague. Okay. Colleague, very good. All right. By the way, just to tell you, 顺便提哈, right? By the way, if you see Mr. Wang like this, a person's name is Wang, W-O-N-G, Wang 先生哈, right? And it's W-O-N-G, then it is probably 香港的那个 China 那边的the spelling, the 翻译哈, Wang, they spell Wang like this. But if you're from Taiwan, usually Wang, they will spell it Wang, W-A-N-G. Okay, so you can tell from my experience where that person came from by the way they spell their last names. W-A-N-G, Wang, he's from Taiwan. W-O-N-G, Wang, he is from China or Hong Kong. All right, good. Similar, I don't know, what should I say? Let's do chimpanzees and chimpanzees, 黑猩猩, and gorillas, let's say, 大猩猩, are similar animals. I don't know if that's true. This is not biology class. It doesn't matter. Okay. So chimpanzees and gorillas are similar animals, I think. Okay. So they are similar. Okay. Or I can say chimpanzees are similar to gorillas. All right. Yes. Let's do that. Chimpanzees are similar to gorillas. Notice this 介系词无解哈 You must remember it. Similar to. Okay. All right. In this sentence, you have to say similar to. All right. Circumstance. Usually 复数哈 Circumstances. All right. Yes. I don't know. You say,我怎么样都不会这样做。What you did was crazy. 我怎么样都不会这样哈。I wouldn't do that. Okay. So I wouldn't do that. That. Under any circumstances. What does that mean? It means, 我怎么样 Under any circumstances, I wouldn't do that. Okay, I don't care what you say. I don't care what happens. I wouldn't do that under any circumstances. Remember, it is under any circumstances. Okay? 介系词无解 You must remember it. Okay? All right. I don't know. I like to put garbage. 废物利用哈 Garbage to good use. I like to 有效利用 my garbage, right? I like to put garbage to good use. Something like that. Okay? Suicide. Okay? You should never commit suicide. And then I'm going to steal a phrase from here. 在任何情况 you should never, right? Yes. So you should never commit suicide under any circumstances. Okay, people who commit suicide are really stupid. All right, good. So here, that is the introduction to part 3. Please watch it. Watch this video. Watch it again. Okay, you don't have to watch the whole thing. You can watch in pieces. Okay, and it will help you. Thank you for watching. I will see you soon.